Us. Merry Christmas, bitch. Colt, ay, short, bitch, let the beat sing until the kid go. Baby, you know I got it. They give me a ring. Yeah, I wipe that pussy crazy. Yeah, I make that shit go. Let the beat sing until the kid go. Baby, you know I got it. That shit give me a ring. Then I wipe that pussy crazy. Yeah, I make that shit go.
Howdy everyone, before we get this video started, I gotta remind you that you could get entered to win the Rix R&V 31 Night Vision Goggles. I did a review of these on my channel. I will leave a link to that in the description. White phosphor tubes, excellent performance for the price. The value of these puppies is around 4,500 bucks, so nothing to sneeze at. If you're not a Patreon member of mine, it's a great way to support the channel. You get a merch item in return. You can get your entries in by tonight at midnight Pacific time and you'll be entered. Go to fanofthem.com/PSR. That's fanofthem.com/PSR to enter. Big shout out to you guys if you got entered to win. If not, that's all good. I just hope you enjoyed this video on the Colt IAR. Let's get it. Hey you, welcome back to another episode of PSR. Today on the channel, we got the Colt IAR along with the Exigent Defense Fireteam556 suppressor. This upper is extremely robust. As you can see, we've got quite a bit of extra girth here on the handguard. There's aluminum heat sinks inside the handguard, along with it being also a monolithic upper receiver. So this thing is completely one extrusion of aluminum, and it is then milled down to what you see here. Before we get into the video though, I gotta thank the channel sponsor for PSR. That is Atrius Development Group. Atrius just released the G-Lever 3-position selector for your ARs. The G-Lever is compatible with the SSA, the SSAE, and the G2S triggers from Geissele. So if you want a really nice trigger, but you also want to be able to put it into the 3rd position semi-automatically, the G-Lever is probably for you. Never in a million years, use PSR for 10% off your entire order from Atrius. Tell them PSR sent you, and thanks a ton to Atrius for sponsoring this channel. Another big thank you I got to give is HSL Ammunition. Guys, HSL provided all of the ammo used in this video. HSL makes affordable but high quality stuff. In this economy, when you're trying to go out to the range and shoot a bunch of rounds and train, HSL has your back. Big thank you to HSL for sponsoring the ammo on this channel. Let's get into a little bit of the history of the Colt IAR itself. The Marine Corps wanted a new rifle to basically add support to their units that was not a belt fed. They wanted it to be a robust rifle that could handle a ton of firepower, that was not belt fed, was not as heavy or as big as the M249, which they were trying to replace it with. HK, FN, and Colt, along with maybe one other manufacturer, submitted rifles to be tested and evaluated for this new contract. Colt submitted this. So this is the Colt IAR submission. This is the direct impingement version. There was a Knights version that was slightly altered with Knights armament parts in a collaboration with Colt, but this is the Colt version. Now I got to give a big thank you to the gentleman that sent this upper in. He is the owner of War Pig Armory, and War Pig Armory are the ones that sent this, and so I want to give a huge shout out to War Pig Armory. War Pig Armory also stocks the Fireteam556 suppressor from Exigent Defense. So if you're looking at this Fireteam, which I believe is an excellent suppressor, definitely hit up War Pig. They've got them. So getting back to the contract, the Marines wanted to replace the M249 with something robust, but not quite as heavy, as big to lug around. I believe that nothing can really replace a belt fed in terms of squad automatic weapon. The M249 has been the Marine standard for an LMG, and you can't really replace that with something that takes magazines. With that said, I believe that the IAR program maybe was a little bit politically motivated. I think the Marines just ended up wanting to get something like a Forge 16 in their arsenal. So I believe it was kind of flawed from the beginning. With all that aside, what ended up winning was the M27 IAR from H&K. So Heckler & Koch, the M27 was a 16.5-inch variant of the 416. That is what won the contract. Now there were some stipulations in the contract, one of them being that it had to have a heavy profile barrel, obviously, and something that could withstand quite a bit of firepower and heat successively. I think Colt's solution to this was pretty genius. They designed a big chungus of a handguard here that has aluminum heat sinks, and it kind of reminds you of an old air-cooled engine with these aluminum fins that kind of come out of it, and it really helps deflect the heat and not get the system too hot over time as you dump more and more and more rounds through it. Now, of course, in the intro you saw, we got this thing pretty smoking hot, but I was always able to shoot it and it didn't hiccup at all, which was pretty shocking. The amount of mags that we put through this thing successively in FRT mode was pretty damn impressive. We dumped around 1,200 rounds through this thing in about an hour and a half. We did cool down the suppressor, but I didn't really cool down the heat sinks too much or the barrel. I definitely poured some water on the gas block. We were trying to get this thing done, but we were doing multiple mags in a row without doing any cooling of this system. So the Colt submission to the IAR program, in fact, all of them, I believe, were 16.5-inch barrels. This is an 11.5 barrel. So this is basically the IAR-K, if you want to call it that. It's the shorty IAR, and I just love the balance and the way this feels as a 11.5, and you have this super cool heat mitigation system, which is basically the same exact system as in the 16.5-inch, except the 16.5-inch comes out to about there. With the suppressor on it, it's about the same length as what the 16.5-inch would be, maybe even just a little bit shorter. So I think Colt did an excellent job with this design, and it's cool to see other manufacturers like Red Right Hand who make their own version of this heat sink system. Cody at Red Right Hand does an awesome job making those things. If you haven't checked them out, I will leave a link to the description of a video that I did a review of the Recce IAR. He makes both a piston and a DI one. This, of course, is direct impingement, and something a little bit cooler about this upper that's a little bit different is it is a monolithic upper. So like I said before, this entire upper is made out of one forged aluminum piece, and then it is milled down to what you see here. This comes from the Colt LE6940 series of rifles. My LE6940 shoots awesome. It's really soft. This one is just the same, except it's even softer because it weighs quite a bit more. As far as the whole gun is set up, we'll start from the back and go to the front. It's kind of hilarious that this is classified as a pistol. So this is the Magpul BTR brace. We've got a regular carbine buffer extension on here. We are running an H3 buffer in here, definitely necessary for the FRT. Going forward, we got a Maximum Defense grip. We've got the AS Designs Arcfire, which I've been super impressed with. I know Atrius is the channel sponsor. AS Designs is probably one of their biggest competitors. However, Atrius is super cool with me doing reviews with other competitors' FRTs, which I really appreciate. And with that said, I'm a big fan of this Arcfire. The Arcfire uses a trigger shoe that's much more similar to the Super Safety. It's got that ramp on the side of the tail of the trigger shoe. And like the Super Safety, it's got a very robust lever on it. So I'm not really worried about that thing snapping or breaking or anything. It's got some meat to it. I like the trigger feel of it in regular semi-auto. The only criticism I would give to the Arcfire is just the smooth selectors. They're very low profile. Personally, I like them to be a little bit more grippy, and this doesn't have any grip on it. That would be my one criticism of this FRT. It's a little bit slippery because there's no serrations on it at all. However, AS Designs did come out with some mil-spec selectors, which in my opinion are much better. But as far as the FRT functioned, it functioned flawlessly. Had no issues with it, so definitely good. The lower we have this IAR upper on is a Griffin Mark II ambidextrous lower. You'll see here the bolt release is very easy to hit. I like this lower a lot. I've used it in a few videos so far, and I'm really impressed with it. I like the flared magwell. I think Griffin did an awesome job at making a relatively affordable ambidextrous lower, so shouts out to Griffin. Up here on the top, we got an Aimpoint Comp M4S. This thing's a chunky but very proven red dot. I really like the big dial that's really easy to change settings on. It's got crystal clear glass and a very, very precise dot. One thing about Aimpoints that I always think is the best is just the clarity of the glass and the dot clarity. Moving forward, we got a Streamlight ProTac Rail Mount 2 light. It's got a Arisaka adapter so that I can run Surefire rear tail caps. As far as the switch goes, I think this is just like an airsoft switch, but we got that angled ramp right here, and it's easy to hit with my thumb as I'm holding the rifle. Another feature on these LE6940 guns, especially the IAR, is this flip down and up iron sight. To actuate it, there's a little button right here, and you kind of pull it up and then you can fold it. I believe this is a Cold Hammer Forged chrome line barrel. It is a very thick, heavy profile. And then finally, on the front, the star of this show, aside from the IAR itself, is the Exigent Defense Fireteam556 suppressor. This was built in collaboration with B&T. Exigent Defense, I think, did an amazing job with this can. Exigent didn't pay me anything to make this video. Colt definitely didn't pay me, and they didn't send me this upper. This can is probably the quietest 5.56 suppressor I have ever shot. I am super impressed with what they did with this can. I mean, I've tried a fair amount of 5.56 suppressors, but for me, this one has the nicest tone, at least to my ears. And it seems like the rest of the internet agrees with me. These are extremely high performing cans. They're not extremely expensive. They're not above $1,000. I think they're coming in at around 800 something. Pretty affordable, relatively speaking, for the performance. Now you do get a little bit more gas on this can maybe than some super flowy suppressors, but it does have some flow to it. You can see on the front, we got these exit holes for some gas. It's definitely not the gassiest suppressor ever. Like I've tried some Surefire cans that are obviously bulletproof cans, but they gas you out after a mag of FRT use. This does not gas you out like those, and it's extremely quiet. It's quieter than any of the RC series that I've tried. So Exigent Defense designed this can to be able to maintain a relatively similar pressure in terms of the ejection and the gas throughout 130 round mag. So if you can see in some of the footage here, the ejection, it stays very similar. It's about 3 o'clock on this gun, and then it starts to go a little bit more forward in terms of the ejection as I get through the end of the mag. And so that's what Exigent was really going for, is keeping it quiet and a similar pressure throughout 130 round mag in terms of just mag dumping it. We got this thing extremely hot, and on some of the footage you can actually see the can glowing in the middle of it. If you can see it glowing, that means it's pretty damn hot. I was actually able to light a leaf on fire with it just by holding the leaf next to it. Suppressors obviously get hot, but we got this thing super hot. I did try this thing unsuppressed. It shoots really soft and nice unsuppressed, but I just prefer to have a suppressor, and so does my camera girl. She does not love compensated 5.56 guns that are short barrel. So we ran the can pretty much exclusively throughout the video on this thing. And the way that I have the buffer and everything, it's tuned to this can. It's easy to keep on target, and the cyclic rate is actually quite manageable. Some of these shorter guns, the cyclic rate can be just insane, and I think that's one of the things that they wanted to make sure they perfected with the Colt IAR when they submitted it to the IAR program, was that it was going to have a manageable cyclic rate, because you know an M249 has a very manageable cyclic rate. And sometimes when you have a magazine in the gun instead of a belt, and you have a short barrel and a short gas system like this, it can get really fast, and fast means harder to keep on target. So with this can and the amount of flow that it has through it and the sound, I think this can is like a perfect candidate for this particular upper and this gun. As far as material goes, this can is manufactured out of Inconel. Like I said, it is ready to take a lot of abuse. Inconel is a very durable material, and I love that it was additively manufactured, as are a lot of these really awesome suppressors coming out nowadays. But additive manufacturing has absolutely taken over the suppressor design space and in general the gun space, which I love to see. I love to see the metal squirting get more and more popular. It would be amazing if metal squirting could be not so expensive and civilians could just buy a metal squirting machine and squirt out their own stuff. Not to say that you couldn't do that with some plastic, because I have tested squirted plastic suppressors and they are actually shockingly good in terms of durability. Obviously not like metal, but it's pretty amazing to see what you can do with some nylon and a 3D squirting machine. As far as the weight of this thing goes, it's definitely a little chunky, definitely heavier than your average AR, that's for sure. So in the role it was designed for, of being a light support weapon, a replacement for the M249, I don't think it can ever replace the M249. Like I said, the belt fed is in its own league, and it will always be in its own league. A magazine fed gun just will not compete with a belt fed. And the fact that Colt didn't win the contract, which they pretty much to a T did everything that was required of them, and instead HK won, I just think that that was a political thing and maybe a political move by the higher ups of the Marines to try to get the 416 adopted. And now you see the 416 adopted in many different variations for the Marine Corps. I think that was a way for them to just say, hey, yeah, we did a test and we like the M27 better, but this does everything that the M27 does, but better, honestly. Don't get me wrong, I love HK 416s. The M27 did not have any of the heat mitigation that this IAR has, which was kind of part of the requirements. It just has a barrel that's in a handguard. I know for a fact that has got to heat up way faster than this thing. This thing is just built for sustained automatic fire, period. So whether or not Colt deserved to win, I believe they did. The Marines ended up going with the M27. M27, definitely a cool gun. It's not as cool as this in my opinion, and I love 416s. So I love this thing. I might have to try to snag one of these. I know that these sometimes come in stock from time to time. The 11.5 version of this thing just absolutely fucks. It is a ripper, and it just keeps on going. It takes a lick and keeps on ticking. So good on Colt for doing their job. Unfortunately, they didn't get the contract. What are your thoughts on the Colt IAR? Do you like it? Have you ever shot one? Like I said, I'd really really love to pick one of these up, but they're kind of hard to find. I think it's one of the coolest iterations of the direct impingement stoner design out there. It just looks so mean. It looks so cool. And in the short barrel configuration, it's just aesthetically, I don't think you can beat this, dude. And shout out to Exigent Defense for making an amazing performing can. I really, really like this Fireteam556. So B&T and Exigent, excellent job on this can. Like I said, it's probably the quietest 556 can that I've ever tried. So in conclusion, I think this is just one of the most badass uppers you could have. And it really fits the role of having an FRT in terms of civilian use. It's compact, relatively easy to shoot. It's soft. It has a manageable cyclic rate with the FRT. Let me know what you think of the IAR. I love it. Thank you so much. Yes, you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone that watches this video, including you. I hope you're having an awesome day. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me here on the internet, talking about the IAR and shooting the IAR. I'm in love with this thing. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace. Thank you so much for watching the video. Last reminder, tonight is the very last night to get entered to win the Rix R&V 31 night vision goggles. fanofthem.com/PSR. That's fanofthem.com/PSR to enter. It goes very far to help support the channel with range fees and other costs associated. So thank you so much for entering. Best of luck to you. Thanks for watching. Is it hard? Am I hard? Is the T-block mag hard? Is my fit hard? I'm hard.